Hello there, folks, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka That Tellest Guy, and I am joined with my lovely co-host, Sleepy Rihanna.
Hello.
Is Sleepy Rihanna an accurate depiction of you today?
Weary, more weary
Fatigued.
than sleepy. I'm just floundering in my own wee.
That's very well put, I think.
That's the most accurate I could possibly say.
Super duper accurate. So we are talking about something today that we've kind of been building towards for a long time, I think. It's kind of like unofficial, but we do want to make sure that people are aware that in a lot of ways Tellest is kind of a sandbox. We want it to be like a playground for people to be able to tell their stories in as well. It's obviously not a, hey, like everyone build on this IP for free kind of thing. But we do have like a lot of content that you could get to help tell your own stories, build your own D&D campaigns, things of that nature.
Yeah, it's the tagline for Tellest is "The world is in your hands," and it's an open world playground basically that has rules, that has like a history to it. It's got specific character races, different like foliage. It's got like a clear map, so if somebody is trying to do a D&D campaign but they want something a little bit different,
if you don't want to build your game in Faerun or anything like that,
right.
We are on the way towards building out something that is, it's your sword and sorcery fantasy, maybe with a little bit more elements of superhero fiction, some steampunky elements, things like that, and eventually it's going to be play in even more different kinds of possible parameters, because we are trying to make it accessible to anyone who likes any kind of fantasy if we can.
Right.
But yeah, we figured we would talk tonight about kind of the components that you could use within the world of Tellest to help shape your campaign, your scenario, any kind of story that you want to tell, basically. And we figured we would start off by showing off the 100 fantasy writing prompts book that we developed. There's, as you could probably guess, 100 of these prompts in here. And right at the beginning of the book, it does indicate that you can also go to our website, fantasywritingprompts.com, which is where you can go for more stuff if you don't, like the 100 prompts that we have here for whatever reason. There's a bunch more that you can get. We are on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but I think there's something like 50 extra prompts on the website, and we try when we are not on hiatus to do a new prompt every week, something along those lines. But we figured we would show you just an example of what our prompts typically look like.
For campaign ideas,
Yep.
we want to, we might want to preface, like, the reason we want to do this is we're going to do, like, a little bit of a test going forward.
Not today,
Not today, but we are going to do it, like a
session zero.
Yeah,
we're leading into a session zero,
right.
For a way of kind of using all of our random chunks to make a mini D&D session that like just the two of us can play,
right, and
in one of our Talking Tellests.
Right, and it doesn't require a DM if we're just randomizing everything.
Yep.
Like, we're trying to really make it a wholly unique experience for, to just have fun with.
Yep, and the fantasy writing prompts are kind of meant to be a catch-all for any kind of fantasy that you might want to tell. So, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be, like, creature fantasy. Like, we did have some complaints about, like, oh, you don't have dragons or unicorns as, like, a prompt name or anything like that. And that wasn't really the intention. It was supposed to be, hey, let's give you kind of, like, ground-level parameters that you can build off of any way you want. So, this myth here could be about a dragon if you wanted, but the idea was, let's make sure that you have something that's a little bit more grounded, has a little bit more of a foundation to build off of, instead of just start at the top and go crazy. Would you like to read?
Once, long ago, an ancient myth was known to the people of a nearby town. It's since been a sprawling city. It's since become a sprawling city.
Snap!
All but
I whack you with a ruler.
Listen,
you went to Catholic school.
I can't see.
I can't even read.
But the most diligent scholars have forgotten about the myth. One of shut up, I can't see. One of these scholars can prove the myth is real, but is the myth? And what does
What is the myth? What? That's not but, it's what.
You called on me out of nowhere, and I was asleep in class, okay?
And what does its validity mean to the people of the city? This is engaging. Highly engaging.
Listen, I was one of the kids who, like, would count until it was my turn to read stuff. And then I would rehearse it, like, 10 times so that I didn't sound like an idiot. And you called me out, and I should have refused.
That's you.
I should have refused!
Alright, so obviously we have the prompt itself. The way that we try and build into helping people tell their story is to kind of narrow it down. We start broad and we narrow it down. So the first thing that we unleash after that is ideas and questions. So if the myth tells the story of an ancient hero saving the town from evil, perhaps the people think of it as a good omen. If the scholar learned that the city has darker origins from when it was a lowly town, perhaps elders and leaders would worry that there are bleak days ahead. So again, these are not a one-size-fits-all kind of situation, and it's certainly not just because you see these ideas or questions, they're the ones that you have to go with. It's just kind of supposed to spark an idea in your head and see if there's anything that you can use for your story.
Right.
After that, we have things like the challenge, which is to, in this case, include a character who denies the concept of the myth. We don't.
Flat earther.
You can see that in the actual prompts themselves, there's a lot more context to the ideas and questions. You know, it's not just two little blips. And then the challenge might have a bit more information. So, for instance, this prompt is a group of adventurers goes on a quest, but things have escalated beyond their control, and one of the group's members is cut off from the rest. What obstacles are in their way, and how will they rescue their ally? So, Rihanna, if you were going to read that, what would an example?
Well, I can't read, so there's that.
I just read it to you. I can't pay attention.
Well,
is that the issue?
Well, listen.
You're a co-host. Get it together.
I'm not going to say it. This is a PG. This is a PG session. So if it were me, like, DMing a scenario, it could. What did you just put up? Luna, oh no. If it were me and I were running, let's say, a D&D session, I might actually pull one of the characters aside and have the other guys kind of figure out what to do. So, for example, maybe they were separated from a bridge collapse over a body of water. The one, like, washed down the shore. How do we get across the bridge?
Which one of these poor unfortunate characters is lost at sea?
The cat.
The cat?
The Numali.
Numali?
Yep.
Numali gone?
Yep, she got
swept away?
Kind of like Sassy from
Homeward Bound?
Homeward Bound.
The Incredible Journey?
I was gonna say Home Alone, and I was like, that's not right.
Homeward Alone?
Homeward Alone.
Then if you're not going to do something just based on the prompts, there are, again, the ideas and questions. So in this case, perhaps the reason that the adventurers have become cut off from their companion can be a thematic point of the story. Were there any disagreements or arguments that they can look back on and consider? In the case of Homeward Bound, they were trying to convince Sassy to do something that she didn't want to do.
She didn't want to.
She didn't want to go for a swim.
She didn't want to go for a swim, but she won't.
If the separation of the group leads to a considerable delay, perhaps it could lead to consequences beyond just the need to reconvene as a complete party. Perhaps there are others who may be in danger without the presence of the adventurers. Maybe if Sassy didn't fall into the water, when the dogs and the cat got to the train station, they wouldn't have had to rush past the trains and Shadow wouldn't have fallen into the pit.
Still makes me cry to this day.
Are there physical barriers to the adventuring party's progression, such as a wide chasm or raging river? River. And in this case, there's also
porcupines, bears,
emotional barriers, I was going to say, because they believe that Sassy is D-E-D dead.
And they go to the bad place. That's a thing.
The pound.
Yeah.
Can't say that in front of the
At this point, I'm just trying to remember the movie. So
You're
let's
just
move
watching
on.
it in your head. Has the adventurer been waylaid by monsters and must find their way to safety before trying to reach their allies? Fun little solo campaign. That could be like if you knew that one of your adventurers, one of your players
Wasn't
had
going to
to
be there that week.
You could do a solo adventure for them real quick.
Right.
And one of the fun things about that is you don't necessarily need to do that like in person if your groups are in person. You could do kind of like an adventure by email situation that can be done at a nicer pace and things
Right.
like that. Will your focus be on the group, the solo adventure, or both? And in this case, if you were playing tabletop, very likely that you would at least focus on the party, and then if you need to, take the adventure out of the group and put them back in later without seeing what they were doing. But you could have some nice story beats that you could explore with that in mind. So, just saying. But anyway, that is an example of the 100 fantasy writing prompts and how it can help you for a tabletop adventure. We're going to continue moving forward. We saw the picture of our party. Do you want to go into our party at all real quick? Or do you want to just, we were using this as kind of like an example?
So it's an example, but I will say we have well, who are the ones that are no longer?
Well, Numali is not with us anymore,
yeah.
and Fortune is not with us anymore.
Numali
Fortune
and
looks
Fortune.
so close to Theoden. In fact, that might be Theoden.
Yeah.
I think that's Theoden.
And I think that it's just funny to line up the way my character. So I'm the red kitty wizard. The idea was that the two Kaja, the cat people, were separated from the litter, so to speak, as younglings, and my character Anaria was part of the Cirque du Malorum as a acrobat, and her whole deal is she's a fire starter. So she'll
if you need someone to ask how big is the room before they cast Fireball,
not me.
Anaria is not that character.
I said cast Fireball. We've got Grohl, who's a orc
Shaman.
Shaman.
Is it a shaman?
He's
technically a cleric.
He's the best at puzzles in our group. We have Pickledorf, who is Michael's brother, in real life, not in the game. But he is a dwarf who's also a thief.
Ranger.
Ranger. He's got a crossbow. He likes pickles.
Yes, he does. We've got Megat, who is our friend Dave, who was a player on Quantum Quest Live the one week. He is by far the best role player in our group.
For sure.
And he's always very like stoic and like self-sacrificial and everything like that. We've also got Alexander, who is a thief that we introduced like 4 sessions in because we had a character who kind of dropped out for a little bit, and then that player came back with this character. Obi. Yep. Obi.
He has a terrible French accent.
Kev is so bad at accents. I love it. The place that they're playing in is a city from the books called Versailles-Varai, and it's kind of like Indo-French, and he's supposed to sound French, but Kev makes him sound very Japanese or Asian.
And also Jamaican Lumiere.
A little bit of everything.
It's very.
Kev is very American. There's a melting pot in that accent
right.
of his.
But it made for a lot of fun, like, moments in the story. Collectively, they are known as Korra's champions, and
we didn't talk about Theoden.
Oh, well,
Theoden's our latest.
Yeah, he's our latest.
There's not enough that we learned about him yet. I think he's been in like 1.5 sessions.
He's a druid.
Yes, he's a druid dwarf, and we kind of tried to make sure that, like, within this... Kev says, "How dare you?"
I was hoping.
I'll tell you.
Hoping you were there. Oh no, the waterboarding has begun.
I'll make Rihanna waterboard herself.
Right, I'm doing it.
Glug. Give me the cap, you fool.
I don't want to.
Oh. Kev, you gotta see.
Would you like some water?
Would you like some water? He did 2 more hydrates. Here, you drink again. I gotta see.
I got this.
There we go.
Take it for the team.
Drowning over here. 6 waters.
Oh no.
We're gonna run out of water. Did Did you bring a cold one up?
Yeah, I got another one.
Did you guzzle?
I did.
Oh my goodness.
I know, man.
I'll show you a thing or two.
Sorry, but not really.
We'll close that off. The next thing that we're going to talk about is where you can get some more information. We did drink. We drank 6 times, Kev. We have places that you can go to find more information for Tellest. worldanvil.com/w/Tellest-Michael D'Angelo is a mouthful, so I have to figure out a better way to get people to this site to be able to find this out. Probably a short link on Tellest or something like that would forward over. But you'll see here, like, there's a link to the books in case you really want to take a deep dive into the universe. We also have, I don't think that anybody sees the campaign that we're running. It's just for me. But we have the World Codex over here, which we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into. And all these maps so that you could figure out, like, where you want to stage your adventure. If you wanted to take one of the continents from the world of Tellest and kind of go from there.
Yep.
And if you do,
they've got cities, they've all got their climates, they got their factions.
Mm-hmm. And if you go into these maps, you can see a lot more details. So you can see when we were talking about cities, there are a lot of bits of information here. So you can actually click on the city, read the full article. Now there's a little bit of bad news here in that I have some of this information but no full articles for these things. So I definitely need to take some time to dive into this a little bit more and give each of these an opportunity to shine a little bit. But
yeah, but it's also, I mean, the one benefit I just thought of this, if you are a avid, like, role-playing gamer person who likes coming up with scenarios, but, like, you have people within your D&D party that are well versed in, like, the D&D lore, here's a nice workaround because they may not know what Tellest is.
It's very true.
So
yeah, you can
have
use
a huge advantage here without having to make everything up from scratch.
Yep. So, like I said, definitely a decent amount of stuff, but we do need to spend a significant amount of time kind of going into this a little bit more. But it's there. It's you're able to kind of dive into it a little bit if and you want. So that's like an example of the maps. Let's take a look at the people. Right now, this is a small list of our codex, but just like we were just showing, we are working on getting some more of this stuff put together. If you did want to use like one of the bigger main characters, we've got some details for some of them, and then you can see some of the art that we have. Right now, I think this is just a little piece. Let's see if Adelia has a bunch more since she's none.
No, she's got so much art on the gallery though.
Does Dave have some? I know that I threw like a bunch in one of them. There we go. David's got a couple. So just as an example, it'll give you like a clearer indication of like what you could do with some of these characters. Again, these are kind of like if you were going to go into a world, these wouldn't be like your basic like level 1 characters. It would be like your, hey, I'm playing in Faerun and Elminster is helping my party learn something, or Dristordan is leading my party, or we see him in the distance doing some kind of heroic deed, and my character's looking on in awe, trying to figure out how to one day emulate that person. I've got a couple of artifacts with some details. No pictures here yet, but I was briefly, before I ran out of time, putting together something there. Fitz's whistle, which is supposed to be, so they called the in The Legend of Zelda, they called the whatever the flute, and it's not a flute, it's a recorder, and it was supposed to be a joke about that. Like, it's not really a whistle, it's definitely a pan flute. So
it could be Fritz's whistle,
ooh,
and it could smell like
sticky buns. Smithy buns? Did you say Smithy buns?
Cinnamon roll buns. Roll buns?
Roll buns. We've got some creatures and monsters. We're working towards doing more of those as well. We've got a lot of decent art that's been put together by various artists, because we had the Merge Dungeon game that had at least 25 creatures in each of those rooms, and then we've got one of our concept artists does a lot of good jobs on, Brianna was mentioning it earlier, we have like the herbalism, things like that. And you can find all that kind of stuff on Patreon. But creatures and monsters. We got some landmarks. We definitely know now, having gone into so many of these books, that there's more landmarks to add and everything. So we will jump into that. I figure before we go into our last three, let's take a real quick moment to drop over to our sponsors. So let's do help if it went to the sponsor page. And now, a word from our sponsors. A spectacular whirlwind adventure that mystifies as much as it enthralls readers, Raymond Dwayne's Quinine is the sort of epic fantasy that most people would have a hard time dreaming of. Yet, the author has done much with this universe, establishing foundational pieces of rich lore, religious history and prophecy, and wrapping it all together in a package that makes it feel like some of the best pulp fantasy of yesteryear. Indeed, there is a way that Quinine is presented that makes it feel as though this hero has been around for decades. Despite the classic feel, though, it is also wild in its imagination, with blended species bringing a sense of alien majesty to the world, which just so happens to be the massive hand of the goddess. If you'd like to learn more, head over to the Tellest website, where you'll be able to find our promotion for Quinine by Raymond Dwayne. Take elements of a treasure-hunting road trip, foreboding dark magic, and swashbuckling adventures on the high seas, and you've got a recipe for David Smith's debut historical fantasy, Raise the Flag. With prose that will immerse readers and an alternate history of pirate escapades ripe for exploring, this book is captivating throughout. A great cast of characters and enjoyable settings round out the components necessary to make this an addicting read. And though it's presented as a standalone adventure, there are enough ways forward to create a sprawling world of additional pirate tales. If that has piqued your interest, don't wait. Check out our promotion for David Smith's entertaining story, Raise the Flag, on Tellest today. All right, and this last one I didn't have time to put anything together yet, so we're going to do this one manually. So on the screen right now, you should see the book for Gore. Author Kane Soke delivers a stunning and swift dark fantasy with his debut, Gore. The titular hero is at once in a world that he's overwhelmed by evil, but also the only one who could possibly stand against the demonic onslaught. Soke isn't afraid to really throw everything he's got at this hero, and the book has more than enough blood and grit to show for it. But there's a method to the author's madness. Dark and dreary as they may be, the scenes are written beautifully. And rough as the world is, the dialogue is chosen with care and delivered as witty and fun repartee. It's a quick read, perfect for unwinding over the weekend. If you've been looking for a dark fantasy with tons of spectacle that feels like a fun treat, don't wait. Check out our promo for Gore by Kane Soke on the Tellest website. Yeah. All right. So we're going to drop off the landmarks. Matt killed us with posture checks while we were on.
We gotta do it, ready?
Rihanna already said we're gonna do yoga.
All right, ready? You're gonna put your arms up. And big stretch. He's not big stretching. It's tickling me.
No, you're not allowed to say that. That's off the. You're fired.
You bat-tard.
I think that's worse.
I don't know.
All right, Rihanna is definitely fired. So we are over here on. Yes, we are over here on the Tellest drive-through RPG. If you do want to work on your own tabletop experience with some of the Tellest content, we've got tons of it here for you. Probably the easiest way to go about things, if you want 50 plus of our maps, is the 50 Maps of Tellest Volume 1 bundle, which you can get for under $30. It's not as good a price as when we ran it in Kickstarter, but we're going to have another opportunity for people to get a cheap price for that later. We also have over 103 of these items. So much that Drive-Thru RPG needs to give us 3 pages, unless we... I don't think there is the option to go more than that. But we also have another 9 coming over the next week or so, I think.
Right.
So we do kind of throw these out in chunks because I find that people respond to that a little bit better than doing it piecemeal. To see like 10 Tellest items in a row,
plus
that
all
helps.
The variants that you have are really fun for a D&D campaign because you can go through a scenario and then suddenly it's nighttime. Same scenario, different effects.
Yep. So, for instance, if you go into the Arctic Market Battle map, you'll see the different variants that we have. So we have a snowstorm variant, a harsher snowstorm variant, and a variant that has the land warmed considerably, the heat wave leading to the ground looking much greener than before, and then even more with some underbrush showing, things like that. We try to have in most of our maps at least 2 variants, and we often go beyond that. So Drive-Thru RPG is a great place to get things from us. That, Drive-Thru RPG is a very trusted website. You can definitely go through that to get your stuff.
And that's digital, right?
Yep, it's all digital.
That's all digital. You can use it in like a Roll20.
Yep. We've practiced it in Roll20, and it looks really, really nice in Roll20. But if you don't want to go digital, you can go physical. So we have 63 of our battle maps up on our Etsy store, which is just etsy.com/shop/Tellest. So if you go, I think there's an even easier way, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. But you'll see here, we've got these maps. They are humongous. They are 18 by 36 inches. They will take up a decent amount of space, and a lot of the time, our maps directly connect to one another.
Right.
So you can have multiple maps that all kind of represent the same zone. And it'll really help you to tell your story within a tabletop experience. You can see, for instance, we have all 4 of these maps are part of the same giant tavern on this like island in between like diverging rivers, and then we have Santa's house maps up here that look really nice. So
when they're printed out on like a really nice vinyl with like
not vinyl, polyester.
Polyester with like a nice backing to it, so it's basically like a giant mouse pad / gaming pad.
Yeah, it's a really comfortable feeling on the front.
Right.
The bottom is like almost like a neoprene feel. It is just very, very nice. We have like so many of the maps themselves, but we also have just to show them really quick. We do a ton of stuff with art as well. And we've got like all of these. So these big ones are the same size as our battle maps. We've got like a medium-sized one, and then we got a couple of baby ones, which we'll talk about a little bit more closer to releasing another big project in the future. But we were talking about the creatures earlier, so we have like the land thresher. I think somewhere we have the Servalis, we have the lunar dragon. So there's a lot of content here that you can dive into. And then if you want the cheapest, if you want the cheapest way to support us and get consistent content, the Tellest Patreon is probably the easiest way to do that. So you can see we do a couple of different things in our battle map collection. We do points of interest documents that you can like print out if you need them for your session. They come with the content that you would get on Drive-Thru RPG, but if you do $10 a month on our Patreon, you get these automatically. You also have the maps with variants for $5 per month. So you can see here, this is one of our partner maps. Becca Tigris did Farm Burrow, and we did a couple of different variants. So we have a heatwave variant, a daytime variant. That's the one that we have up here. The original is a night one, and then we have a version where there's no hole here, which you can see as well. But the whole point of this map was, let's see, you can see it a little bit. It's a nighttime map, but we have the giant aperture there. So we do a little bit of that all the time. We have some bonus scenes that Matt works on. That's going to be a lofty goal for the next Kickstarter, because already we've got over 50 maps, and we're not releasing this until probably like November 1st. So we need to make sure that we raise enough money for Matt not to go crazy doing all these bonus scenes. So again, a decent amount of stuff for a relatively easy cost. If you didn't want the variants, we have the high-res gridded and gridless without a watermark for $2 a month, and you get all the previous ones. Like, it is a really nice deal. So
he's got a lot of content and continuously adds more, so there's...
Yeah, whether you're talking about the books, whether you're talking about the art, whether you're talking about things like fantasy writing prompts. Kev and I are working on another tabletop supplement that should make your TTRPG experiences a little bit more bombastic in some cases. But yeah, there's just a lot, and we wanted to show you how you could improve the content at your table.
Yep, and we're going to be probably continuing this in our next section. Which
Well, not necessarily the next Talking Tellest, but it will lead into a future.
Yeah, it's going to be a date night, I think, for me and you, because we have to do some prep work to do like the randomization, but we're going to be utilizing a random scenario, a random map.
Napkin.
You know where I'm at.
Was napkin what you were going to say?
No, it was nap.
Nap.
It was just nap. A random nap. We're going to use randomized characters from the Tellest universe, and we're probably going to randomize our roles for like character traits and things like that.
The stats and everything.
Yeah, so it'll be a fun little scenario that it'll be a hilarious mess.
Yes,
I'm
as we are.
For it.
So we're going to get ready to wrap up, but we did a lot of talking today. So what we're going to really quick do before we cut over to the show closing page is talk about Quantum Quest as we do like once per episode, because we do have another game on Thursday. So check this out. Now that our Twitch channel has reached affiliate status, we can start to do some really cool things. One of them is inviting you to play our tabletop dungeon diving game, Quantum Quest. Using our channel points, called Quest Coins, you can queue up for one of our forthcoming Tabletop Thursday games. In addition, as we amass more followers, we'll continue to add new ways for you to use your Quest Coins. Join us and see if you can escape the living dungeon. Alrighty then, we're going to head over to the show closing page and talk about all the stuff that we just talked about. So, folks, over on Tellest.com, that nerdy Kev said, hydrate.
I'm doing it.
So over on the Tellest website, I'm going to make Rihanna do it so that I can continue talking. Over on Tellest.com, you'll see a lot of the projects that we work on. It'll point you in those directions. But if you want to see the premium sites that we talked about earlier in the stream, Patreon.com/Tellest is where you can get the digital stuff, and Tellest.etsy.com is where you can get the physical stuff. We've also got a couple of TikTok channels with some famous stuff. We got some famous wands over at TikTok.com/@WeirdWitchWands, and we got some famous doggies over at TikTok.com/@TalesOfTellest. Luna is definitely more popular than anybody who's been chatting on the stream today.
6.2 million views on one of her videos from last month.
We didn't take enough advantage of our 15 minutes. Her 15 minutes.
Yeah, we didn't do nothing. I mean, you're in the
squeezed.
video. I witch cackled.
You did witch cackle.
It was a terrible cackle, and it is heard around the world.
Right. And then the last two places that we'll bring your attention to for this video is youtube.com/@WorldOfTellest, which you can go there to catch all the videos that drop off of the Twitch platform after the requisite amount of days. But twitch.tv/ThatTellestGuy is the only place that you can go to catch us live, to chat with us, to waterboard us with the hydrate redemption. These poor guys, they're not going to have any quest coins left to give anybody extra mana when we unlock that for our Quantum Quest lives in the future.
Oh, well.
Such a sad day. But that is going to wrap us up. We've got hot sleepy doggies up here, and Luna is God backwards. I mean, if I'm pronouncing it backwards, it's not that. And I'm not going to pronounce it backwards. You are not either.
What?
And that's going to be, aha!
Yeah?
Yeah, but Kev, try and do the other one backwards. That's going to wrap us up for today. Pay attention. No. All right, folks.
Backwards. Oh, I get it. That's no good.
That's it for us for today, and we'll miss you.